Chapter 4. Jill. Kennedy and Cindy said they were going up to the mountains and asked if I wanted to come. Kennedy sat cross-legged on her bed with a pill bottle and a white square of toilet paper on her lap. "Hey, bae." She popped open the pill bottle and poured a small white oval into her palm. "You want a Vicodin?" She crushed the pill between 2 quarters and dusted it into the center of the toilet paper. She wrapped the paper in a small bulb, twisting the ends to a stem, and popped it down her throat. "You bitches ready?" I asked if she was okay to drive. She nodded. I'm fantastic to drive. We hauled out of the neighborhood and she waved her Passat up the mountains, drifting back and forth over yellow lines. On the stereo, a deep voice sang about a secret boy with secret plans. Beyond the trees and cliffs, the clouds held round, rolling shapes, cosmic towers and cathedrals shaded by pink, yellow, and blue sunlight. I took my phone out and snapped a few pictures through the window. I texted Tyler one of the pictures, but he didn't respond. It was almost dark when we got there. We parked in an empty dirt lot, got out, and started on an overgrown trail, leading to a wide wooden platform. We climbed to the top. Woods and mountains rolled out around us. Pulsing bulbs atop skinny, far-off towers glowed like red dragon eyes. Tiny Kinsfield far below, a cluster of lights pushing against the night. Dark clouds moved from the distance. I took a picture of myself, and I deleted it. Kennedy talked about all the guys she wanted to fuck, and Cindy mostly just nodded along and said, "Yeah, he's hot." They asked about me and Tyler, but I didn't really like talking about that stuff, so I just said everything was fine. We talked about graduation and how we should all move to South America and live in the rainforest and fight off loggers. Like smoke coca leaves and sabotage equipment and shit, Kennedy said. Like some fucked up Calamity Jane shit. Like we'd be some fucked up cowgirls. Dark clouds fell over Kinsfield, a skinny wire of lightning tearing down the earth. We climbed down from the platform and jogged back to the car, getting in just as the first few drops were falling. It was a downpour by the time we got back to the main road. Kennedy wrenched the wheel and swerved the car over the line to the other lane. "Motherfucker!" "What's up?" I said. "Fucking shitholes threw rocks in the road." She smashed the horn and shrieked through the window. "Hope you get dick cancer." Cindy shouted. Something thudded hard against the grill. Cindy hit the brakes and threw her hazards on. "What the hell was that?" "I don't know," Cindy whispered. "What do you mean you don't know? You saw it, right?" "Like an animal?" We all got out, the rain soft like needles. There was a big dent in her bumper. Motherfucker. Flecks of gray matter stuck to the headlight, like gray paper. Something bleated behind us. Oh God, Cindy turned away. "It's just like a deer," Kennedy said. "That's so fucked up." Cindy clutched her fist to her mouth. "Shut up, there's like millions of deer out here. Should we call someone?" Who? Who would we call?" Behind us at the top of the road, a small oval, too dark to make out, lopped and turned, fluttered. It screamed again. "Okay, let's go. We piled back in and left. Kennedy said, "That was a deer, right?" Cindy said, "Yeah, and so did I." Amir. Me, Tyler, and Marlon hiked up to the Puffer's Drive quarry and threw a few rocks in the road, waiting to see if any cars would hit them. Here it comes. A red SUV tearing around the curve. "This is so shitty," Marlon whispers. "This is such a shitty idea." Classic Marlon. "Come on," Tyler whispered. "If it was me driving through here, I'd be pissed as shit. But it's not you, so it's funny." The SUV swerved over the yellow line and rolled on past the pile. Shit. We smoked more weed and cigarettes and waited, sweat drowning our crevices raw and mosquitoes nipping at our skin. There was another exhaust rumble. Tyler drowned the rest of the whiskey and chucked the bottle on the road. The glass shattered, twinkling gray and blue in the moonlight. Only the bottle's neck remained intact, forming a long, jagged shiv, sticking upright ahead of the rocks. Headlights sawed out from around the bend and through the void. "Come on," Tyler mumbled. "Come on." It was a familiar pickup truck, a Stars and Bars flag wafting over the driver's side. It swerved toward the opposite lane, but it was too late. The right tire tore over the rocks and glass and burst like a gunshot. The truck skidded and slumped to a halt. Its doors clicked open. A young, faux southern accent yelled, What the fuck? Through the heat. A second boy stepped out from the passenger side. Chris and Tad McCraig. Oh shit, Marlon whispered. Chris turned towards us and we sunk further into the brush. He turned back at the busted tire. Marlon leaned into my ear and whispered, "We need to go." I nodded and tapped Tyler's shoulder. He held a finger to his lips. "Fuck this, I am out." Marlon twisted around on the rocks, leading down the ravine. A cluster came loose beneath his feet, plunking down the side. The McCraigs turned and their eyes finally caught us. They came running. We slid down the slope, sucking in, choking on small black bugs, plumes of dust and pollen erupting underfoot. A roar from above. "You cocksuckers!" Chris and Tad came sliding after us. We hit flat earth and took off through moist, mossy leaves and skinny tangles of vines. We ran until we hit a wide brook. Behind us, the McCraigs cried out. We pulled out our phones, held them over our heads, waded through the water. Our sneakers slipped over slimy rocks and water rose to our thighs. We climbed up out of the opposite bank and kept running until our breaths gave out. Okay. There was nothing behind us now, except pillars of brown and white bark, silent except for cicadas and humming flies, the brook's gurgle and night birds fluttering overhead. We clear? We clear. We got our bearings and smoked a bowl. "Yo," Tyler said. "That was like magic. That's like literally magic right there. Bending shit to your own whim and shit." We started laughing, me and him at least. Marlon fumed quietly, staring at something. His face gradually changed. He pointed a cigarette towards something behind me. "What is that?" "What's what?" "Is that a dead cat?" "Fuck you." "No, for real, is that a dead fucking cat?" "Fuck you." But this time I turned around to see what he was talking about. It was a silhouette in the dirt, pile of rotten leaves, but it did look like a tiny body. Skin charred, black, but slicked wet. Tyler bent over it. "Huh. It's just some leaves," I said. "Does look like a body, though. A little fucking goblin or something." "Huh?" Tyler said again. "Yeah." I passed the ball to Marlon. Tyler took a picture of the leaf pile. Walked a little bit until thunder cracked overhead, followed by a heavy drizzle. We headed back, trying to remember where we left Marlon's car. Lou. My parents took me to Boston to see Uncle Max. Uncle Max put sparklers in my belly. He tuned in when I spoke and would always give me a book about Greek or Egyptian mythology, or New England ghost stories, or popular science when I see him. My parents had knives for him. Sometimes they would take away the book he gave me, calling it inappropriate. When I was little, I asked if he was a bad person. "It's not that he's a bad person," Mom said, and it trailed off. We parked at a rail station, took the train into the city. Boston was what castles must have been like, packed with women and men with knives in their faces. Uncle Max lived in an apartment building in Fenway. He met us outside. "Good to see you, sis." He leaned in and gave Mom a hug. Mom returned it, all boarded up, her body distant from his. He shook Dad's hand. "Hey, Tom." He turned to me with firework eyes. "Jesus, I can't believe how big you are. You're starting to make me feel old." "Here." He pulled out a book from his back pocket, a light purple jacket, a picture of a metal wrench rising from the grass and leaves. My parents glanced knives at each other, then knives at Max. "Thank you," I said. "Any time, Palsy. That book changed my life, and I hope it does something good for you, too." "I can hold on to that, sweetie." Mom took the book from my hands and put it in her purse. We took the train to the Museum of Fine Art. Max said it was the last week they were showing the Goya exhibit. "Now museum, now you don't," Dad said. None of us laughed. Outside the museum, a naked bronze man rode a horse, holding his arms splayed to his side like Jesus, and his mouth gasping towards the curled clouds overhead. The building behind it was a pearl fortress. Inside, naked putty men and women with boarded-up faces sprawled across the rocks or clubbed animals in blurred forests. Bleached, tingly torsos twisted limbless. Brown fruits soiled forever. I'm not sure I'd ever been to a museum before. My parents pushed us through the Goya exhibit. They didn't understand why someone would paint ugly things, their knives sharpened on their cheeks. There was this one painting, 3 half-naked figures with botched faces floating in space, sing-song pointed hats on their scalps. They grasped at a struggling man while another, with his head, shoulders, and back covered in a white sheet, pushed through a void with his hands out. I couldn't look away. I wanted to live inside it. The floating people looked like my insides. As we left, Mom shook herself out and said she was glad it was over. We went to dinner at a French bistro. Dad asked me to lead us in prayer. Max got up saying he had to powder his nose and headed toward the bathroom. He got back just as we finished. Mostly Max and my parents gave each other soft knives throughout dinner, but at the end of the night, he still told Mom he loved her. He gave me a big hug and told me to keep on rocking the free world. He said, "Bye, Tom," to Dad. Rain needled dents against our car on the ride home while my parents sharpened their knives on Max. "I think he was getting worse," Mom said. "Was he ever any different?" "In that book," she wilted, even though I could still hear her perfectly. I know. He does it because he'll know it upset us." "I know. And Hun?" "Yeah?" "Stop." But it was too late. The bumper shocked through a clatter of objects, plunking and scraping against the undercarriage as we rode over them. Dad smashed the brake pedal. "You've got to be kidding me." We got out of the car into the smeared rain, me beneath Mom's umbrella, and ogled the damage. Half of the bumper was split, its foam inside spilling out. Rocks and bits of glass shimmered wet under the headlights. Mom asked if we should call AAA, but Dad said he didn't have reception. "I can still get us home, I bet." We got back inside and Dad twisted the key. The engine gargled sore, but he was right. He still got us home. Amir. Marlon dropped us off at Tyler's place and took off. He never slept at Tyler's like I did. Fuck that, I have a bed. Tyler went up to his room. I went down to the basement. I lay on the gross couch, but I couldn't wind down, still riding the Adderall I'd taken earlier. Pulled my phone out, but it was dead, so I got up and looked around for a charger. Swept the corners and stacks of dead quarter-inch and RCA cables. Got down on my hands and knees, felt under the couch. No cables, just stacks of paper and cardboard compressed against the couch's underside. I grabbed some and slid it out. They were sheets of lined paper and torn-off pizza box lids from Utopia, all sharpied up. Words and pictures, names and dates, stuff like "The Serpent Thirsts," "The Wasps Smile," "Close Luna," stuff about towers and rope men, drawings of crude little upside-down arches, like static blips of life on a support screen, or a stack of broken birds' wings, and intricate spirals sprouting and more spirals. Google Maps printouts of the town with lines drawn all over like vines or veins, cross hatches, and more of those little arches. Photocopies of photos and newspaper clippings taped together, hundreds of individual pages. I went through them until daylight. When I heard Tyler or his mom walking around upstairs, I stacked everything back up and slid them under the couch and tried to go to sleep again. Chapter 5. Jill. Tyler asked me to come down to his basement. He said he wanted to show me something. The floor shifted from chipped concrete to dirt and back again as he pulled me by my fingers to an unlit corner, batting away fresh spider webs. He shined a light up to where the walls and ceiling met. "You see that?" A small gray orb hung, no larger than a ping-pong ball. A tiny wasp crept around the circumference, pulsing gently and kneading its forelimbs into the orb. Tyler said they built their nest with a mixture of wood particles and saliva, and if we let it be, it might cover the entire wall someday. Lou. Black background, red text, green text, gray text. User Young Caligula. This guy Sean F. Paulson talks about alternate realities stacked up on our own, in what we usually see as an empty space, and somehow drugs actually help us perceive those places. He hasn't talked about Whirl specifically, but it lines up. Yeah, no one knows for sure, but it's interesting. Pygate, replying to young Caligula. Paulson is pretty good, but I'd also recommend Mark Brown. Some of Paulson's kinda corny IMO, and makes some pretty huge leaps. Brown is better at reinforcing his theories. Young Caligula. Cool, I'm gonna check him out. Amir. Tyler was fucking off with Jill, and I was all out of weed, so I texted Marlon to see if he had any. Marlon. Was gonna ask you. Might have something in the works, though. Meet up? I got dressed and asked Mom if I could get some cash for food. She must have wanted me out of the house because she didn't put up a fight at all, shoving a $10 bill in my hand. Then Tasha whined. Why does he get money? So she gave her $10 too. If you're going out, take your sister with you. What, have you got a date or something? Excuse me, I thought I just gave you $10. Nah, it's cool. I smiled and chucked her in the arm. I asked Tasha if she wanted to go to Regal Lanes. I guess. She got on the back of my bike and pedaled downtown. Marlon messaged me the moment I got her inside the bowling alley. Okay, I gotta go do something, just hang here for a while. How long? She said. Later. Are you buying drugs? I'm buying you a muzzle. Now stay here. I'll be back later. Tell Mom and you're dead. She nodded. I got back outside and texted Marlon to come pick me up. He rolled up in his tan Camry, and I got in. He says we can come over whenever, he said. What are you looking for? I only got 10. Cool. Same. I figure we can just get half an eighth and split it up after. I'm not really looking to hang there. Who is it? Kai. I shrugged. White guy with blonde dreads? Kind of a piece of shit? Right. Yeah, that guy sucks. Heard he got a trespassing notice for creeping at the school. The grade school. Jesus. So we'll be in and out? Yeah, nah, totally. Neither of us had been to Kai's place before. Tyler usually just asked what we wanted and picked it up for us. But he texted Marlon directions, what seemed like a pretty stupid move for a dealer. He lived in one of those single-story ranch motels that had been converted into low-rent housing. Outside, 5 guys covered in probably white power tats sipped beers and stared us down as we knocked on his door. Like that, I said, just in and out. The door cracked open to the length of a gold security chain. The hippie's face peeked from the other side. Yellow-gray skin, red-eyed. Okay, yeah, I know you guys. He pulled the door shut, undid the chain, and pulled it all the way open. Come in. My casa, your casa. His place was typical. A filthy kitchenette, dumpster couch, Xbox set up on a wooden chair. The walls bare except for a flat-screen TV, a Pineapple Express poster, and a set of 3 mounted katanas. Please, sit. He gestured to the couch. I'm good. Marlon crossed his arm. Yeah, me too, I mumbled. Suit yourselves. What can I do you for? Half an eighth. His cheeks dropped. You fucking nickel and diamond me here? Then a slow smile crept back across his lips. Just messing with you. No problemo. He went over to the kitchenette, opened the fridge, and pulled out a gallon jar filled up with dark green and purple nugs. He came back to the couch, plopped down, and set up his scale. He stopped and looked at us. You sure you don't want to sit? Nah, I need the exercise. Cool. Feel you, brother. He went back to measuring the weed, but stopped again. You guys know any girls looking for weed? Like from school? Nah. Marlon clenched his jaw and ground his teeth. Nothing better than a girl who likes weed, you know? Look, we gotta be someplace. Alright. Kai finished weighing out the bag and handed it over. Marlon gave him our cash. Oh, almost forgot. Is one of you going to see Tyler soon? Why? Kai pulled a book from the stack on the coffee table and handed it to us. He wanted me to read it, but it's not really my speed. Can you give it back to him? I took the book. Prince of Wasps. Flora's Quiet War on the Anthropocene by Sean F. Paulson. Yeah, sure. Cool. Thanks, brother. He stretched out his fist for a dap, but I just ignored him. He tried to get us to stay and smoke out of his new bong, but we just said peace and bounced. Jill. Kennedy drove us down to Keene for me and Tyler's anniversary. It was the closest town with a movie theater, and Kennedy had a cousin out there anyway, so she didn't mind. Just get at me when you're done. Yeah, sure. And I need to be back before midnight. Cool. Night, she snickered. Catch you two lovebirds later. It was still early, so we caught a matinee at Cinema 6. It was a movie about a girl who falls in love with a ghost. He'd likely been killed by a biker gang like 30 years earlier, and ever since he's been contacting the living to try to convince them to avenge him. That's how he meets the girl. He speaks through her songs in her iPhone. Eventually she agrees to help and they fall in love and kill the bikers together. It was pretty stupid, but Tyler seemed to like it a lot. Yeah, there were some cool shots and it was just kind of beautiful. That sex scene was so weird. He snorted. That's probably what it would be like though. He opened a silver plastic pouch, pinched some dried up leaves and stuffed them in his cheek. So what happens when she dies? Are they going to be together forever? Wouldn't that be cool? His grin twisted my stomach, but I made myself be okay with it. She was so annoying though. I don't know. We passed a handicapped bathroom. Tyler grabbed me by the wrist and yanked me inside. Blue. Black background. Red text, green text, gray text. User Creaky Gate has a posse. So when did this suicide start? I don't mean when the first guy in Kinsfield offed himself, but when did it start happening with frequency? Reply. Real bad time. As long as there's been people killing themselves. Creaky Gate. No shit, that's why I put the whole second part. Misty Payne replies, first major year was 1954. At least 103 recorded suicides. Crazy Bob. Ding 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 ding. Private message from Young Caligula to Misty Payne. How do you know that? Young Caligula. About the 1954 suicides? Misty Payne. I read it in a book. New England Ghost Stories and Legends by Albert Savani. Young Caligula. So does it talk about Werner Baumhauer? Misty Payne. Yes. Young Caligula. What do you know about Werner Baumhauer? Amir. We drove back to my place and smoked up in Blood Swamp. Marlon had to take a call from his brother, so I sat on a rock and flipped through Tyler's book. He dog-eared the bottoms of like half the pages and underlined and circled certain passages with a red pen. I turned to the end of the introduction. Let us consider the English language, a set of 26 symbols with seemingly limitless combinations. Now suppose there was a man who had committed a severe wrongdoing against me, along the lines of extortion and defamation. Suppose I were to approach a third man, tell him my foe had committed a severe wrongdoing against him, an affair with his spouse, an act of thievery, whatever would push his buttons. Let us assume, using the rules and nuance of the English language, I make an exceptionally convincing argument, and this third man purchases a firearm, stalks my foe, and shoots him in retaliation for his accused and entirely fabricated ills. What is this flu, this force, this hormone that has convinced this fellow to take the life of a man he had never before encountered? Nothing more than a set of verbalized symbols arranged and orated immaculately. Let us turn to an entirely different entity, flora. Far from merely passive beings, flora such as acacias and cord ceilings can, and often do, defend themselves violently. When eaten by caterpillars, corn seedlings will release pheromones that draw in wasps and other predatory insects, who then swarm and kill the caterpillars. Surely the wasps are not aware they are being manipulated into fighting the seedlings' battles? That their internal systems are being chemically hijacked? That they are being ruled by forces beyond their control? They must, in their own peculiar and alien way, believe that what they do is solely for the benefit of their respective lives, never once considering they work for otherwise undetectable monarch. This, of course, forces a question: how sure can we be of our own autonomy? And to those who would shout this question down outright, of course we are not wasps. But though we may appear superior and vastly more complex, we abide by similar laws. As far as science has determined, our self is nothing more than a product of nerves and neurons and hormones and chemicals. From that foundation, the question becomes many. What forces are we unable to sense that nonetheless influence our existence? Is it possible for us to become aware of these forces? And perhaps, most terribly, what do these forces intend for us? Most of us would likely prefer to remain ignorant to the answer. For while the wasp knows not why it slays the caterpillar, it relishes its job just the same, its master too vast for its feeble senses to comprehend. The worst part about knowing anyone is knowing only the tiny sliver available to you. Marlon got off the phone and I asked him what he knew about Tyler's notes. He scrunched up his face. What? The pizza box lids, I said. The papers and the note cards. He had no clue what I was talking about. So I texted Tyler. Yo, you getting back soon? Tyler. Nah, won't be till way later. I looked up at Marlon. Want to do something super sketchy? Jill. The bathroom smelled like bleach, puke, and shit. But it was so rare for us to truly have a moment alone together. We sucked each other's lips and yanked at our belts. I ran my palms up his arms, feeling the ribs of his scar tissue, sinking into his dark body heat, shivering against his starved, stringy frame, wanting to drown in the reek beneath his armpits and between his thighs. Tyler wrapped his hands around my hips and pushed me against the wall. I slid my fingers behind the front of his jeans, grazing his pubic hairs. His tongue lapped at my teeth. He tasted like buttered popcorn, $8 whiskey, and something else. A clump of ashy particles, like crushed up leaves or ragged confetti, passed from his mouth to mine. He hardened against my belly. Clots of the soggy leaves pulled through into my mouth, and I swallowed. What even is that? I said. Nothing, don't worry about it. He spun me around, slid my shorts and underwear down to my ankles, grabbed me by the hair, and pushed his cock into me. Do you have a condom? I tried not to moan even though it felt so good. Each thrust made me feel like the room was changing. It's fine. The walls breathed in and out, synced with mine, breathing faster as I breathed. The colors dulled and brightened, throbbing. Tiny black streams crawled down the plaster and tile, curling, forming the outlines of eyes and mouths. Wind flooded my ears like cloth whipping in a storm. He groaned and pulled out. I turned slowly, panting. I pressed my back against the wall. Tyler's face strained and blurred. Black strings climbed down from his lips to his nostrils. He ran his left hand up and down his cock, so rough and fast I thought he might bleed from the friction. He held out a yellow bandana in front of him. I pulled up my shorts and began moving my hands towards his groin, but he grunted, no. So I leaned back against the wall and watched, trying not to listen to the voices and the wind in my ears. He came in the bandana, pearl coupe and a pile of little black strings, his face, arms, and thighs glazed with sweat. He smiled and pulled up his pants. That was dope. He took out his phone and snapped a picture of me. Then he tapped out a message or something. I leaned in, kissed him hard, and moved down to suck on his neck. I opened my eyes and watched him tuck the folded up bandana in the back of his pocket. The black string crawled up from the bandana up his back. I pulled away. He gave a weird look. You came, right? Yeah, I lied. A fist slammed on the door. Come on! A voice yelled. Oh shit. We giggled and clutched each other. Let's go get something to eat, he said. He unlocked the door and we dashed out in the lobby past another dead-eyed teenage couple wanting to get into the bathroom. Lou. I sat and went inside my body, and my fingers tapped across the keyboard, fluffy like Jill's. My arms went fluffy, my guts, legs, and face, and it became true because I couldn't see myself reflected in the mirror. From Misty Payne. Baumhauer wanted to weigh a human soul. He killed himself trying to see if it could be done. Young Caligula. Yeah, he hanged himself on a scale and had a kid measure the change. Misty Payne. Some people think he was a murderer or a Nazi. Young Caligula. And he started the suicides. Misty Payne. I don't know if that's true. Young Caligula. It is. You already know it is. Her insides churned in mine, and mine in hers. Her hair brushed against my cheek. Misty Payne. How old are you? Young Caligula. Does it matter? Misty Payne. No. Young Caligula. How old are you? Misty Payne. 24. Young Caligula. LOL, me too. Misty Payne. Do you have a girlfriend? Lol, why? Just curious, but never mind. No. Do you have a boyfriend? No. What do you look like? My words became her pillows. Words that once belonged to her. Misty Payne. What is your name? Nate. Yours? Misty. LOL, that's wild. Amir. Tyler's mom's car wasn't in the driveway. I'd thought I'd remember him saying she was out of town for the weekend. We crept around back and dug the hide key rock out of the flower bed. We unlocked the back door, took off our shoes, got inside, and snuck down to the basement. I tugged on the light and reached under the couch. It felt different. More stuff under there than last time. I pulled out some of the cardboard and papers. Marlon squinted. Small valleys carved across his forehead. What the fuck? I told you, dude. Push a man and the man pushes back, he read. Push a tree and the tree pushes back. Push the dirt and the dirt pushes back. There's a couple of books down here, too. Conflict Psychology by Mark S. Brown. The Mothman Prophecies by John Keel. Looks like they're from the library. Burn the virus and its children's grow strong. Slept a decade between the serpent's teeth. He squeezed his eyes tight and opened them again and looked at me. Maybe this is just how he writes lyrics, but he sounded like he didn't even believe that. I handed him another sheet. Check this out. His eyes scanned the writing. Ted Crane, February 2nd, 2016. Frank Adler, March 17th, 2016. Abigail Switz, March 24th, 2016. James Landitz, May 9th, 2016. What the fuck? Read to the end. Roy Callahan, April 30th, 2018. Chris Hertz, May 28th, 2018. Donald Petlier, June 6, 2018. Hector Ferreira, June 21st, 2018. Trevor Wright, July 17th, 2018. His mouth fell open. Oh, yeah. All the people who off themselves, right? Right. But no, not really. Trevor was just in the shop the other day. It must be something else. But the date, July 17th, 3 weeks from then. Marlon shook his head and started putting all the cardboard and papers back in order. We shouldn't be down here. This is like his personal stuff. His hands were shaking. Plus, I just realized this is some legit breaking and entering. Okay, you're right. I was disappointed but didn't know why. I helped him put everything back in order, or as best we could, and slid the pile back under the couch. I tugged off the light, and then we heard footsteps upstairs. Jill. Let's eat here. He tapped on the plate glass. It looked like a restaurant they'd used for a movie set. I don't think I can afford this place. It's cool. I got you. Baby. I said it's cool. He smiled. Tiny black strands danced between his gums. We stepped through the door into dimmed beige lights. An open brick oven kitchen. Chandeliers made out of old wine bottles. The hostess looked scared of us but still smiled through it, leading us into an unlit corner in the back. She laid out menus and poured us each a glass of water. I lifted the glass to my mouth. A string crawled from under my thumbnail, and hairline cracks shot around the glass. I set it back on the table. Water leaked from the crack down to the tablecloth. I ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, even though Tyler said I could get whatever I wanted. It was probably the best spaghetti and meatballs I ever had in my life. The waitress cleared our plates, her face shimmering purple and wormy, the black strings dripping down her tear ducts and crawling towards another booth. She asked if we wanted any dessert. Tyler smiled and gestured to me. I don't know. He raised his index and middle finger. 2 menus. I got the cheapest thing again, chocolate mousse, and Tyler got a brownie with ice cream on top. He only ate about 2 bites, then just leaned back and stared at me. Is something wrong? I said. No, everything's great. But he wasn't smiling anymore. His face throbbed red and white. You still love me, right? Something in the question felt like a needle in the back of my neck. Of course. Good. We finished up. The waitress cleared our plates and bowls and said she'd be back with our check. Tyler's gaze drifted with her stride as she wound between tables and the wait station. All right, let's go. The hum grew in my ears and whispers pushed through it, and black string reached out from beneath his eyes and teeth. He got up and pulled me out of the booth, between a line of tables, past the kitchen, out through the hallway, into the hotel lobby. We rushed past the concierge, pressing through glass doors into a wall of soggy air, running and laughing into the dark. Lou. I lived inside her house, with her family and friends, tending boxes where she kept her secrets and reasonings. I knew the world as people do. Young Caligula. So how did you find the forum? Misty Payne. Just curious. You? I was looking for it. Do you like it? I do. Caligula. It's everything. There's not anything else. What do you mean? I don't think I can make it any clearer. Amir. Marlon clutched at my shoulder. This was a bad idea. We'll just tell him something. This sucks. This sucks so bad. We'll just tell him we were recording. I'd hate everything about this. He let go of my shoulder and headed to the foot of the stairs, then turned back to me. Are you coming? It was obvious Tyler probably heard us as we creaked up the stairs. We reached the top and opened the door to the kitchen. Tyler's mom stood with her fist around a small black pistol, pointed at my face. Whoa! We put both of our hands up. The hell are you doing here? Looking for Tyler, I said. Is he here? We shook our heads. Then you goddamn shouldn't be here either. She kept the muzzle trained between my eyes, even though I'm sure she recognized me. Yes, ma'am, Marlon whispered. So get out, now. Yes, ma'am. We gathered up our shoes and headed for the door. You know, most women wouldn't think twice to pull the trigger if they caught a pair like you in their house. She leaned her face forward with bug eyes. So maybe you can appreciate that. She never lowered the gun. I bet she didn't put it away until we were all the way back home and trying to get to sleep. Jill. Kennedy pulled into the parking lot, rolled down her window and shouted, You kids having fun? Me and Tyler piled into the back. Hey, nuh-uh, you've had all day to play with each other. I'm not sitting up here alone. I got back out and into the front seat. How was the movie? It was... Holy shit, what is up with your eyes? Shit, you guys did have fun. What you got? Gimme. Tyler said he was all out. Bullshit. I've got some weed. Everybody's got weed. But fine, pack it, jerks. She reached up and unlatched the sunglasses holder in the ceiling and pulled out her glass bowl. I didn't tell her about the string crawling out of her face. She took us back through the mountains and towards home. The black forest beside us felt alive and predatory. I tried pushing the strings and vibes away, chain smoking and turning the music on the stereo. A man singing about being dragged to the bottom of the ocean. Tyler stayed silent in the back seat, doing stuff on his phone. We got home at 12:15. Kennedy dropped Tyler off at his place before mine, so my parents wouldn't see him. We got out and made out a little in his driveway. His mouth tasted like string, coils of dirty thread. He asked if I had any Ativan, so I gave him some. I got home and Dad was awake on the couch, a cluster of empties on the coffee table. He asked me how Kennedy was. I told him she was good and ran down the hall before he could get a good look in my eyes. Lou. I shut the laptop and dreamt inside her body, in her blankets, drinking breakfast juice in a warm black space, above a man with a windswept sheet of body blowing into rags beneath us.